Welcome. This is a special edition, a special national championship edition of OnlyFins Q&A Live. Although we're not on OnlyFins and we're not live. This is going to be recorded. So I'm essentially starting the show by telling you, yeah, this is like a total fraud. This is recorded. You're not watching this live on YouTube right now, okay? But you will get this on our feed as a bonus for the week. We have a bunch of shows this week. We have a draft show that's going to be exclusive to this game on Monday night, where they're going to be talking about the Miami Hurricanes draft class. By the way, Donno, any idea how many guys, our guys, meaning me, Simon, Chris, think the Hurricanes are going to get drafted in April from this draft class?
Total? Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. 7 or 8?
You nailed it. 8.
Yeah.
8. It's going to be a good draft class.
Really
you know
good.
the first two. You know the first two, right?
Yeah, I mean, Bain, Maui Noah, and then
Akeem Mesidor's 3.
Mesidor, I was going to say Mesidor probably the 3rd.
You know who's 4?
Deontay Scott should be drafted.
Yes.
Jacoby Thomas, I would think, would be drafted.
Yes.
Trying to think who else.
Nez Cooper, Markel Bell.
Yes, I forgot to. And what about Markel Bell? I kind of hope he stays in school, but you know.
Yeah. It's a weird thing, right? With him, right? Like, what's that about? Because he had 2 years of JUCO. I had somebody try to explain to me the rules on how Markel Bell can stay, and I was like, I don't get it.
Well, they give you like a JUCO like freebie, I think. It doesn't count against regular eligibility anymore. I have a hard time keeping track of it, but I'm sure I'm butchering like the exact rule or circumstance, but I know if you play in JUCO, it like doesn't count against your regular eligibility for FBS or FCS. So it's like the JUCO is like a mulligan now.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice that you can do that. All right, let's start here. Last night I was watching, I'm not going to say who it was because it's a competitor of yours, and they were having like, some super chats, people asking questions about this game, and I was interested to hear what these people had to say. And 9 out of 10 questions were about the transfer portal. And it leads me to this, because in what we do, people love transactions, man. They just love transactions. And I got a kick out of one guy who sent one in that said, Mario Cristobal, what is he doing? We're completely cooked. And the host said, what he's doing is preparing for the national championship at home on Monday night.
That's a good
answer. So, are we cooked because they're and we're just going to do, I promise you people, we're only going to do 2 minutes of transfer talk. Okay, transfer portal talk. Are we cooked because their solution was to go and find DJ Lagway wherever the hell he is? I think he's in Baylor, and try to get him to decommit from Baylor to join the Miami Hurricanes. Your thoughts on that whole situation?
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, and I understand the whole transaction thing, because I actually, and some people didn't like it, but I did spend on my show on Wednesday, the first segment I spent talking about quarterbacks in the transfer portal. I've spent most of my time talking about the actual Indiana game, and I guarantee you Mario Cristobal spends 99.9% of his time thinking about the Indiana game. But I get it. Like, people are curious about the transaction thing. I mean, as far as like, is Miami cooked? I mean, I guess like in terms of bringing in a high-level transfer for the 2026 season, I guess you could say they're cooked because, Ty Simpson was not interested in playing another year of college. And I kind of get it because, I mean, you may know better than me, but it sounds like he's getting first-round feedback for the draft. And it's like, if you think you're going to be a first rounder, I get it. You want to go. Like, that wasn't the case for Carson Beck last year. It wasn't the case for Cam Ward the year before. So they came to Miami to raise their stock. Miami already missed out on Sam Levitt because Lane Kiffin has signed half of the quarterbacks that were in the portal. He has signed a bunch of them, including Levitt. Miami missed early on Brendan Sorsby, but like the problem was that was during the time right between the Ohio State and the Ole Miss game, and there was only a week between those games, and like Miami basically said, like we'd love to bring you in for a visit. You just got to wait till the after the Ole Miss game. He didn't want to wait, and so like I don't like the DJ Lagway idea. I'm not into that. I think if you're thinking about bringing in DJ Lagway, I say to me, and this was not the top priority, but my priority would have been to bring in a guy like the names I mentioned that Miami missed on. But before I would bring in DJ Lagway, I'd say, hey, this wasn't the ideal situation, but I would at this point just let Emory Williams, Luke Nickel, Judd Anderson, and incoming freshman Darion Coleman, let them compete for the job and deal with what you have in the room. Now, again, there's a reason why they wanted to have another experienced quarterback, but at the same time, Alf, I think the floor is pretty high for Miami's team next year at every other position. Yes. Like, you should still have really lofty expectations for 2026, even if you have an inexperienced quarterback. So at this point, I'm okay with riding with what you have in the room.
Yeah, I'm not one of these people that it's a or else type of guy. Although I did say win the ACC this year or else, right. I'll take this.
They found a way around that. They circumvented the ACC championship.
I'll take this run instead, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Instead of that night in Charlotte, all right, I'll take this. Okay.
Yeah, me too.
But next year, I kind of expect this team, even as currently constituted, even with Emory Williams as the starting quarterback, to probably win the ACC. So I don't think that they're necessarily in a terrible spot going into next year.
No, right, an interesting thing I'll say real quick, like there was a little bit of a buzz that, like, an obvious buzz that Emory Williams might, leave, but if they don't get somebody else, I don't think he would leave, because he, obviously had they landed Sam Levitt or Ty Simpson, I could completely understand Emory going somewhere else because he wants to play. But I mean, if he gets the opportunity in Miami, he's been in this offense for 3 years. Like, he's been 3 years with Shannon Dawson. So now, and he would have the leg up in the competition because of his experience. So I don't see him leaving, assuming Miami doesn't get somebody else.
All right. Now moving on to this game and the ticket situation. And we're going to get all this out of the way before on the second half of the show, where we're going to talk about the actual game and what you can look for come Monday night. I know somebody from the corporate world that owns a block of 4 seats, club seats, for this game. They were granted the seats, so they have them for this game, and they will be in those seats for this game. Those seats are somewhere around the 30-yard line. You want to take a guess what a ticket broker offered them for those 4 club seats on the 30-yard line? By the way, they can't sell them. It's in their contract.
Oh, okay.
They can't sell them, but they were offered this money. And they said, they showed me the email. What do you think that they were offered for those 4 seats by a ticket broker?
I'm going to guess about $20,000 per seat.
You pretty much got it. It was $105,000 for the 4 seats.
So even more, like $25,000 per seat.
Yes. Wow. What is going on with these ticket prices? Is it really just this Indiana fan base, which is a pretty large fan base and, huge alumni base, rich alumni base? Are they really are they the ones who are driving up these prices? I hope we're not going to get overrun in our stadium.
Yeah, I don't know if I have another great explanation for it outside of, and I don't think it's all Indiana fans. I mean, they're going to have a good amount of people. You mentioned they have got the largest living alumni base of any American institution. 90,000 currently enrolled there, so I can only imagine how many alumni they have. But I think it's a combination of all things. I mean, Miami is an expensive city. It's an event town. So I think it's kind of the perfect storm where you have, and also I'm going to give Miami some credit as well, because I know the local appetite for this game is very high. I mean, for, the real Miami fans, even the bandwagon Miami fans have been waiting for a big game like this. So I think that there is some Miami behind driving the ticket prices as high as they are. And it'd be 2 sensational stories, right, with both of these teams being here. And maybe the people who live in Miami who are Miami haters, the Gator fans and the Seminole fans, they're going to adopt Mendoza, the Miami kid. That's going to be their reason to go to the game and root against Miami and root for the hometown kid returning. But yeah, I don't know what else it could be, and I know there's a lot of frustration out there because there's a bunch of Miami season ticket holders, some friends of mine who have been trying to get tickets. I know the people who requested them, at face value back in early December. I think most of those requests were granted, but then the people who jumped into a queue this week on Tuesday expecting to be able to get tickets, there weren't many left, and they waited in a queue for a couple of hours only to come up empty. A lot of them are very frustrated, but this is a really, really hot ticket, and I don't know exactly why this is so much hotter than like previous national title games. Because Alf, this is like a Super Bowl. Like, you look at the prices. Like when you look at paying $3,000 for nosebleeds and paying $25,000 for club seats, like those are Super Bowl prices, not national championship prices.
Yeah, I went to the '91 national championship, and I remember being at the Bacardi tent and all that stuff, and I don't really remember what I paid for the tickets, but I've seen the ticket and what it said face value, and it said $125.
I paid that in 2004 when I just because it was local. I went to the USC Oklahoma game, national championship game at that stadium, and I paid $120 for a ticket. And me and a friend of mine went for, we were sitting in the 300s, so they were decent seats, not great seats. We paid $120 each.
Yeah, and what was interesting was that for the Fiesta Bowl, standing room only, if you were willing to take a chance, grab a plane, go out to Arizona, and just walk into the building. Standing room only was $50 for that game against Ole Miss. So, wow. This is going to be interesting. What I find most interesting is the tailgate situation, because I got the bright idea. You know what? I'm just going to tailgate. I'm going to go out there and tailgate and watch the game from the parking lot. You can't do that now anymore.
Nope.
You got to show a bona fide ticket to be able to get into the parking lot. And if you want to park, it's $775 to park in the orange lot where I usually park for Canes games. So, wow. Man, it's going to be something. And I guess we'll finish here before we go to break. What do you make of the national media narrative so far? Nobody's picking Miami, and nobody's daring to pick Miami. It's almost as if, look, Stephen A. Smith has been watching college football for about 45 minutes, and he was told that you could tell when he's saying Mark Fletcher and them boys.
Yeah.
All right. And it's like, Steven, what you got to do is Ruben Bain and them boys. All right. He's probably going to be the number one, the top defensive player taken in this coming draft. So go with that one instead. When you hear people saying, is this going to be a game? Is there going to be any entertainment factor here for this game? And they start bringing out, and I got to understand, and I got to make clear to people, everybody keeps saying, oh, these games always go one way or the other. It's either a really close game and the underdog wins, or it's a complete total blowout. You got to understand, we haven't been doing this for 1,000 years. We've only been doing this playoff format, this real playoff format, for a couple of years. So it's completely different what you're going to get. So there is no history here to rely on. But what do you make of the national narrative about this game? Because literally, when you say nobody's giving us a chance, really, this time, nobody is giving us a chance.
Yeah, there's a lot of lazy analysis, and I respect certain things that he does, but Stephen A. Smith is the last place I would go for college football takes, as you outlined. Like a lot of ESPN does have like their niche of like specific college football people that I don't think have enough of a presence on the network. But like there are certain people on ESPN that provide reasonable analysis, but a lot of like the mainstream people, PTI, First Take, like it's garbage analysis. Like they focus so much on the NFL and the NBA, and even a lot of their takes on that stuff aren't great, as we know. But at least like it comes from a place of being somewhat informed. And yeah, there's and not just to pick on ESPN, because yeah, from a lot of the national talking heads, like basically the depth of the analysis is, one team has blown out their CFP opponents by 30 plus. The other team has played in close games. One team has a Heisman winner, the other doesn't. People still don't believe in Carson Beck. That, those old narratives die hard. So it's like they weigh those factors, and then the math computes in their minds too. Well, Indiana's going to win by about 40, 50, 60 points. Like that's the extent of analysis you get from people. But it's like, man, I do appreciate, the analysis that because I dig pretty deep for my college football analysis, and not to say that these people aren't popular, but they're not, just the standard talking heads. But, I thought Josh Pate from On3 had a good breakdown, and he's actually picking Miami to win outright, which is rare. Like, he's a maverick on that. Like JD Piquel from On3, Crane and Company from, I think they're with On3 now as well, and Sirius XM, like, do actual detailed, knowledgeable breakdowns, because they watch every game and they break it down, and like you can tell, like, the actual educated ball knowers, to use that popular phrase, are, a lot of them are picking Indiana, and that's fine. Like, as long as you have an informed take on it. But I think most of the people who really understand what Miami is about, and the way Miami can disrupt opposing quarterbacks, which I'm sure we'll talk about after the break. But a lot of the people who actually, like, understand what Miami brings to the table, even if they're picking Indiana, they're picking probably close games. They're probably picking Miami to cover the 8.5-point spread. And, they understand that this is likely not going to be a runaway for the Indiana Hoosiers. So, like, you can find good analysis at certain places, but you have to dig a little deeper than Stephen A. Smith to find it, because a lot of the lazy takes are, yeah, Indiana, they've beaten everybody by 30, so they'll probably win this one by 30. I feel like there's a lot more to it than that.
If I hear about the SMU game one more time, or the Louisville game one more time, like, this is not the same team, okay? It's a completely different team from back then. All right, we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the actual game and what you have to look for, especially on early downs. That's a sneak preview. But first, let me tell you about Factor. New year, big goals, no time to cook? Factor makes it easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs, so you can eat well without the shopping or the cooking. Quality, functional ingredients, including lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole food ingredients, and healthy fats. No refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, no refined seed oils. Meals that fit your goals and schedule, healthier eating, calorie management, and more. 100 rotating weekly meals. So it's not that, monotonous, like, oh my God, I'm going to order this thing again. I'm going to have this thing again for Monday and this thing again for Tuesday. No, 100 new rotating weekly meals. So head on over to factormeals.com/3yards50off and use the code 3yards50off to get 50% off your first Factor Box Plus free breakfast for 1 year. This offer, by the way, is only valid for new Factor customers with the code and qualifying auto-renewing sub purchases. Make healthier eating easier with Factor. And a new sponsor to the show, and they'll be with us for a while, right through the draft, and that's Upside. Use the promo code 3yards, of course. Financial resolutions are great, but let's be real. Budgets don't reset on January 1st. Between post-holiday credit card bills and getting back to your regular routine, cash is tight. That's why there's Upside. The free Upside app gets you cash back on gas, groceries, and dining, the three things that drain your wallet right now. Over 100,000 participating locations means cashback opportunities everywhere you go. And yes, it's cashback. No points you'll never use, no credits that expire, money you transfer straight to your bank account. It's not one of those things where it's a reward system where if I get 15,000 points, I might get $2 back. No, I used it already. I used it on my app. I put $30 gas. A day later, I had $3.15. They're ready to come back to me. So Upside has given $1 billion to its users. Find out how much you can earn. Download the free Upside app and use the promo code 3yards to get an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas. That's an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas using the promo code 3yards. And of course, Underdog Fantasy. They will be with us for the entirety of 2026. Football playoffs are here. Pretty good slate this weekend, by the way. And Underdog is the best place to get in on all the gridiron action. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. Now, for this weekend, the one that, and I know that everybody's like, oh my God, here comes the homer. No, it's not being a homer. It's because of the defenses that they're playing against. I like Drake May and Josh Allen both to go higher on their interception number, which is, of course, 0.5. So take them together in this. So what are you waiting for? Download the app today and use the promo code 3YARDS to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code 3YARDS. Underdog, make picks, win money.
Be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
And we're back. Watching, I've been watching a lot from this Indiana Hoosiers defense, and their defensive coordinator Brian Haynes is like he's going to be the next big thing. Okay, we already saw Jesse Minter. He's already a head coaching candidate, and he's only been around for a year. So Jesse Minter is probably going to be a head coach in this league soon. Maybe the Miami Dolphins head coach. The Miami Dolphins are going to interview him. Brian Haynes is next, okay? When you watch this defense, look, Kamara is obviously a draft pick. He's a day 2 guy. They have talent, but this is nowhere near the talent that Ohio State has.
Right.
When you watch Ohio State play, Arvell Reese is a first-round pick. Caleb Downs is a first-round pick. Sonny Styles will be a first-round pick. They're absolutely loaded across the board, okay? That's not them. Indiana is just smart, and they seem to be guessing right, essentially, on early downs. Is it really going to be a coin flip, Donno? Them calling run blitzes, us running into the right hole. We run into the wrong hole, it's 2nd and 12. We run into the right hole, it's second, maybe it's 1st and 10 again, but maybe it's 2nd and 2. Is it going to be as simple as that? Because it's essentially brains versus brawn in this game, and we're the brawn.
Well, I think in some ways it's going to be as simple as that. But real quick, I'll go back to what you said about guessing right a lot, like on early downs. Everybody saw the way that they started the game against Oregon with the pick 6 on the very first play. They have intercepted passes on opponents' opening drives 5 times this year, which is I don't know if that's ever happened before, a team to have that many opening drive INTs. And so, yeah, they are very well prepared and very well coached. And, you mentioned stopping the run and run blitzes. Indiana comes into this game 2nd nationally, giving up only 75 rushing yards per game. But when you talk about brains versus brawn, we've said this before and we've been right about it before when opposing teams have been like, well, yeah, you guys think you're so great at the line of scrimmage, but we're going to match up, right? You had the Texas A&M offensive lineman like, oh, yeah, Reuben Bain's not a threat. We're going to handle him. We heard a lot of the same stuff from Ohio State. And those are teams, A&M and Ohio State, on paper, really good line of scrimmage teams. And we're hearing some of that from Indiana as well. But the bottom line to me, Alf, and we know Miami's offensive line is not only really big, but they're also athletic and they're also very well coached. Miami's O-line averages about 332 pounds, and Indiana's defensive line averages about 278 pounds. Like they are effective, but they are very small. And so I think that's an area where Miami can have a physical advantage. And the other thing, Mark Fletcher, who's going to be the primary guy running behind that offensive line. I'm sure Marty Brown will get some looks as well, and maybe Gerard Pringle gets sprinkled in. But Fletcher has been playing the best football of his career these past 3 games. I mean, somebody who's really, really turned it up in the playoffs, and the kind of the instincts that he's shown when it comes to making the right cuts and hitting the proper holes. It's been a lot more consistent in the playoffs than it was in the regular season. So his vision seems to have improved, which I think is encouraging heading into this game. And, when you talk, one of the names you mentioned that Miami went up against in Ohio State was Sonny Styles. And one of the reasons why Ohio State fans were so confident in Sonny Styles being able to shut down Mark Fletcher was before they faced Miami, Sonny Styles had not been credited with a missed tackle all season. Then the very first time he tries to tackle Mark Fletcher, what happens? His first missed tackle of the year happened on that very first opportunity. So this is another reason why I think people are way too premature in just trying to write off Miami and be like, well, nobody's been able to run on Indiana, therefore Miami won't. Well, nobody was running on Ohio State, and Miami was able to. Teams were not having success running against Texas A&M, and Miami was able to do that. Ole Miss was a little bit different of a story because their running defense was more vulnerable than those other ones that Miami faced. But in the case of A&M and Ohio State, Miami was not supposed to run on them, and they were. And so I think offensively, to me, you're obviously going to need to hit some passing plays as well, because you can't just, run into the A-gap 50 times against a team that good and expect to be able to get 5-6 yards per carry consistently. You're obviously going to have to be able to throw the football, and, you're going to have to, and Carson Beck is going to have to play the way that he's been playing for the last 7 games. I mean, I know he's got 1 playoff interception, but it was on a tipped ball. He's thrown, I think, 15 touchdowns to 2 interceptions over his past 7 games. He's been taking care of the football at a really high level. He's going to have to do that here, and he's going to have to hit a couple of downfield passes at least to get this one going. But I think Miami's offense, with their physicality, is definitely going to be able to move the ball at times against Indiana. I don't think this is going to be a complete stalemate.
Yeah, and one thing that I will say about that is Indiana likes to run 2 guys into 1 gap, and that could work in their favor because they like to use these overloaded pass rushes against you when you're in pass sets. But as they guess on first down, and then if they're going to be sending blitzes and overload blitzes on third down, Shannon Dawson has seen all of this already on tape, and he understands the tendencies for Indiana, which is they do send 5 a lot on third down. If they could set something up with that offensive line and try to get a deep shot on them early, especially early, that could pay huge dividends. And everybody keeps saying, "Oh, but look at what Iowa did." First of all, I don't like to look at anything that the Iowa Hawkeyes do because, they play a different brand of football that I'm used to watching.
Yeah.
But the Penn State game, not the Ohio State game. Everybody's like, "Oh, the Ohio State game," and I'm like, "No. Ohio State, Indiana, that was essentially a rock fight. It was a physical game. Ohio State took an injury in the backfield, and they got pass happy." And that was a problem against a team like Indiana, who's really, really smart, especially really good against the pass. The Penn State game, they didn't run it all over them, but they were almost religious in their devotion to running the football. 33 carries, 117 yards. Yeah. I don't think if Miami runs it 33 times, they're going to have 117 yards. I think at worst, they're going to have 140.
Yeah.
I think 150 is the number. If you could tell me right now, would you sign up for 155 yards rushing on 35 carries from Miami on Monday night? I'm telling you, they won.
Yeah, all day. I sign up for that.
They won. Yeah. So if Penn State was able, with their athletes, to have 33 carries for 117 yards, that just means that they had a devotion to it, meaning that was our game plan. We're sticking to it. We're not deviating at all from it. If Miami can stick to that, then they could get those down and distances right. And maybe those pressures, those 5-man pressures, are just not going to come. because 3rd and 3 is a rundown for Miami on many occasions. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what you think about that, because I think we can move on now to Mendoza. But
Agreed.
What do you think of that as far as a strategy in this game? Like, it has to be like you have to run on first down pretty much every single time that you touch the ball. Right.
Yeah, and you hope that they can have more manageable downs and distances. Like they were excellent. Miami was excellent on 3rd down against Ole Miss, but I think their average 3rd down was a 3rd and 8. Like you want that to be closer to 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5 on average, and get as many of those 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3s as possible. So I'm down with it.
Yeah. Moving on to Fernando Mendoza. I always look for a stat that gives me a little bit of hope. There's sometimes a stat. There was 2 stats last week against Ole Miss that gave me a little apprehension, although I was pretty much convinced that Miami was going to win that game, because I just thought Miami was just much more physical. I thought they would stay on schedule and win the game, but we saw the game that it ended up being, right?
Well, if you hadn't dropped 4 interceptions, it would have been a lot more comfortable than it was.
Right. But I always look for 2 stats. There's 2 stats last week that gave me a little apprehension. This week, there's 1 stat that gives me confidence. I'll tell you the 2 stats that gave me apprehension last week. Trinidad Chambliss, lowest time to throw in all of college football.
I knew you were going there, and I know where you're going, but keep going.
Okay, so I was like, okay, this is for sure. This is a guy that can play the quick game. If he's going to render Akeem Mesidor and Ruben Bain useless, then we're just going to have to win with Moton up the middle the entire game, because that's the only way you affect the quick game. You affect the quick game with quick pressure with your defensive tackles, right? Mm-hmm. The other stat last week that gave me some apprehension is the offensive line with the best pressure rate, meaning the lowest pressure rate given up in all of college football, is the University of Miami. And it's by a lot. I believe that their pressure rate is like 16%. Number 2 was Ole Miss, 20%. Yeah. And I guess that ties into Trinidad Chambliss getting rid of the ball very quickly. Here's the thing. Fernando Mendoza holds the ball over 3.2 seconds.
Yep.
He holds the ball longer than any quarterback they've played since Pittsburgh.
And we saw how that went against Pittsburgh. Eli Holstein was not granted the time that he needs. And it's thing like on Mendoza, and I saw that stat, and I had the same thought about him holding the ball. He loves to go downfield, and he's very effective at it with those back shoulder throws to Surratt. I mean, he's been very effective at that, but you need to have time for those routes and those plays to develop, and Miami's not going to give you that sort of time. So, for Indiana to have success on offense, one of 2 things or both are going to have to happen. The Indiana offensive line is going to have the game of their life if they expect to give Mendoza 3.2 plus seconds to throw. And anybody who thinks they're going to have the game of their life when Bain and Mesidor and Lightfoot and Justin Scott and Ahmad Moton Sr. are running at you, and not to mention Keontae Scott blitzing at you and all that comes with that. Everyone who thought that they could contain those guys has been wrong. Or, like you said, there's got to be a major seismic adjustment towards a quick game, which is not something Mendoza has done this year, and it's also not what their offense has been effective at doing. So I mean, I guess they've got to hope to play the style that they've been playing all year, that they're going to find a way to block Bain and Mesidor for 3 or more seconds, because otherwise the game plan goes out the window. And like kind of sizing up this matchup, it reminds me a little bit of Michigan versus Washington a couple of years ago, when Michael Penix goes into that game, the hottest thing since sliced bread, slicing and dicing defenses, but Michigan gave him no rhythm, no time to throw, and he couldn't play the way he'd been playing all year. I hope that's going to be the case with Mendoza.
Yeah, Indiana, I believe, and I think we could finish up here. Indiana, I believe, is going to do what they always do. They stay on schedule. They have a Heisman quarterback, and a lot of people new to the college football. Maybe they've just been watching for the college football playoffs because, hey, it's fun. They see brackets, brackets are fun, right? Yeah. If they're new to this, they might think, oh, they got the Heisman quarterback. They're going to throw it 40 times. He's throwing for 400 yards every game. No, that's not what they do. They stay on schedule. They run the football. So my biggest key for the game, and you could share yours unless you want to keep it a secret until you're going to release it on your show. My biggest key for this game is stop their run. You stop their run, I don't see how they're just going to rely on Fernando Mendoza to beat you.
No.
So stop the run on first down. I think you could turn the game over to Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor and ask them to win it for you going forward. You agree?
Yeah, I mean, my big keys, that's one of them, and it's the same, just both sides of the football, run and stop the run. And I mentioned Indiana has the second highest or the second statistically best rushing defense. Miami's got the fifth when it comes to stopping the run, and I think the Hurricanes are going to be up to that task. I mean, teams have not been consistently able to run on them for most of the season. And yeah, I'm completely with you. If you can stop the run, if you can run the football, and it should go without saying, but we say it anyway because we know Indiana's superpower is not beating themselves, right? Like that's kind of their identity, is how mature they are, how well coached they are. It's 23-year-old average team. Like they don't make a lot of mistakes. So obviously you want to see, and Miami has had both ends of the spectrum, right? Against Ohio State, 0 penalties that were accepted by the opponent. Against Ole Miss, 10 penalties for almost a football field's worth of yards. So we've seen both ends of the spectrum. And I'm actually encouraged, Alf, that it looks like we're going to have Big 12 officials again for this game. Miami had Big 12 crews for the Texas A&M game and for the Ohio State game, and I thought those were the best officiated games of the season. So,
Yes.
I know people don't consider the Big 12 to be the top conference. They may have the top officials because those are the ones that tend to let us play a little bit more. So
you're saying
So
you're saying that the ACC crews, no ACC crew, drew this assignment for
I
this
mean,
game?
thank God. This is the only advantage of being in the ACC is you can't get an ACC crew in the playoffs. You always have to have a neutral crew. Like it's like if the ACC referees, like what they love to do is they call all this ticky-tacky BS. So then it's like if you play physical, you're going to get penalized 12 times a game, right? Apparently the Big 12 crews let you play a little bit more, which you should do in the playoffs.
Yeah. All right. Finishing up here, give me one. I'll give you mine. One defensive player, one offensive player, obscure. Let's not stick to the chalk. Obscure that could be huge in this game. I'll give you mine. Mo Toure on defense. He's going to be, if he has 15 tackles, I wouldn't be surprised. He's going to be extremely active in this game. He's going to be running that A and that B gap all game because they like to run in between the tackles. And on offense, Gerard Pringle.
It's a good one.
The thing about a pressure 5 defense is the easiest way to defend it is by throwing to the flats. Yeah. Why not throw to the flats to your fastest running back? Because pressure 5 defense, you always bring in one extra. If you bring one extra, you usually bring the nickel. If you bring in the nickel, the flat's open. So I expect Beck to throw to the running backs plenty. Your thoughts? One obscure on defense, one obscure on offense, and we could get out of here.
Yeah, on defense, I'm going to go Ethan O'Connor because I think he's going to start this game in place of Xavier Lucas, who's going to have a first half targeting suspension at corner. And I would just imagine that, obviously O.J. Frederic is going to start. He's good to go. That's, a regular starter at corner. He's been a starter all season since he's been healthy. I would think that Indiana would look at Ethan O'Connor and try to test him in coverage. He's played well, but he's a reserve. He's not a regular starter. So I think for him holding up and whichever one of their top receivers he draws, holding up his assignment. And then, man, you took a really, really good one on offense. So I'm going to go. I want this to be a great Inez Cooper game. He gets so nasty at the second level with his run blocking. He's committed a few too many penalties here and there. So we need to keep the holding and the false starts to a minimum. But I think, Inez Cooper probably Miami's most underrated offensive lineman just in terms of like the actual value, what he means to the team on and off the field. I think if Inez Cooper has a big game, Miami's probably going to reach that goal of 150 plus rushing yards that you talked about.
All right, on the way out, and then I promise we will be out of here this time. Any chance Damari Brown plays, and what are they doing at tight end? Because it looks like Lofton is likely not going to play.
Yeah, great questions. So Damari Brown has been characterized as day-to-day. In Mario Cristobal talk, that probably means a little less than 50% if I'm just kind of, leaning on the experience that I have with him talking about injuries. But I would love to see Damari Brown play, but the only risk is he hasn't played all postseason. So would he be rusty would be the question if he does play. But he's listed day-to-day. I think Elijah Lofton is going to try to give it a go. He's probably going to have like a flap jacket around his midsection after taking the big hit. But I think Alex Bauman is going to start as he has most of the year at tight end and will probably get the majority of the reps. So I think he's going to have the lion's share, Bauman at tight end. And it wouldn't surprise me if Lofton gets into the game, especially since it's the last game of the year. No matter what happens, you got the entire offseason to sit in the cold tub, So I feel like Lofton's going to give it a go, but we'll probably be on a snap count of sorts.
All right, where are you going to be watching the game?
I expect to be at Hard Rock Stadium. I think I think my credential has come through. I know some folks had a little trouble with that, but I'm expecting to be at Hard Rock Stadium, and I'm curious to see what a madhouse it's going to be.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to keep you have to keep running to the bathroom to cheer after every series.
Exactly.
All right, good luck to our Canes. Good luck to our boys. Hopefully they get it done on Monday. That'll be number 6. They don't lose this game at home traditionally.
No,
they usually win this game. By the way, odd thing: every team that they've ever beaten has had red as a primary color. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, you're right about that. I hadn't thought about
it's Nebraska 3 times, Alabama, and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And now Indiana.
Number 6, uploading.
So go get number 6. All right, guys, enjoy the game.